Hello and welcome to DFS Coach Talk. I am Joe Sarvati, affectionately known as Coach. Today is Tuesday, June the 8th, and I am here to go over a very good two-game NBA playoff slate for this evening. Where you ask is Andrew Hansen. Andrew is actually on the road today, so an extremely rare Tuesday off of the podcast, but he will be in there for our members for lineups. We'll put our lineups out together as normal. So no Andrew on the pod today. Hope you're traveling well, Andrew, and look forward to getting back on here with you tomorrow. But our members, never fear, will both be providing lineups this evening. Got to mention my new gear. I'm so fired up. I got the new Under Armour white DFS Coach Talk hat and the powder blue, love you blue, old days kind of polo with the DFS Coach Talk patch as well. So if any of you out there are interested in any Coach Talk merch, we have a really cool store set up with Squad Locker. Squad Locker, it's SQUAD Locker. And just look DFS Coach Talk and it'll take you to our store. And what we've done from the very start with our merch there is we negotiated a pretty solid deal on the pricing, and we don't make a penny on it. We pass all the savings on to our members and our listeners. We want all of you to have some Coach Talk stuff and get it out there. And the quality's great. I mean, I'm absolutely loving the new gear. Look forward to getting different stuff through time. I've had the gray and black for so long. I was definitely due for a change. So good stuff. Great to have you today. Appreciate you listening in. On the way in here, real quickly, if you can take a second and hit that on YouTube, hit that thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and click the little alert button up in the top corner. Reason that's important to us is we're approaching some goals that we've set for YouTube subscribers, so we really do appreciate that. And those thumbs up help us in the algorithm on YouTube to help climb up the ladder, if you will, to get more views and more information out there to people. So we really appreciate that. If you're listening by audio podcast, wherever podcasts could be heard, we're on Podbean, Stitcher, iHeart, Apple Podcast, Spotify, you name it, iTunes, we're there. We also would ask if you just take a second there, hit the 5 stars, hit a little comment in there, stating what you thought about the podcast, or even just a couple of words. That really, again, all helps us. And then our man Joe Stanton goes in there once a month, randomly pulls a winner of someone that posted 5 stars or thumbs up and subscribed and made a comment. Any of those. The combination is all pulled, randomized, and one winner per month gets a week free membership with Coach Talk. Okay, let's get this sucker started here, man. I am fired up for these games tonight. We have the first game is the Atlanta Hawks at the Philadelphia 76ers. It's a 7:30 p.m. Eastern game, and we know Atlanta took game 1. They're up 1-0, so extremely important game for Philly at home to win. Philly is favored by 6, and it's a 223.5 over under. The second game is a 220.5 over under, so not a big difference between the two games as far as totals. So we don't have to really compete against, which, if you want to take a side because the total's much higher. It's pretty even. As far as injuries go this game, as we know, Joel Embiid has that slight tear in his meniscus in his knee. So he's listed as questionable, but he was questionable the last game, and about 25 minutes before lock, they announced he was starting, which really was a surprise to me. And not only was it a surprise that he played, but then he smashed 39 real points. Are you kidding me? a guy that's got a half torn meniscus. I mean, it's a shame they couldn't have won the game because, he really got it done. 12 for 21 from the field, 14 for 15 from the foul line. That's really what brings him up another level. 39 points, as I stated, 9 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 blocks. So, I mean, I'm looking at this slate and I'm not marking Embiid as questionable. I think he plays. He played 38 minutes in this game. And if they go down 0-2 and have to go back to Atlanta, they're in trouble. Yeah, I heard you, Dirk. Didn't work for the Mavs. I get it. Whatever. But they're going to want to win this game. So if Embiid's not, if the knee doesn't really get worse, I think he's going to play 40 minutes. And, if he was able to produce those numbers, and now, he's getting ready to come back out here. I did get a day's rest, which isn't that great, but it's better than nothing, and certainly in play. The other injury in the game for Atlanta is DeAndre Hunter. He's questionable. And that's an important one too, because not like Embiid, of course, but we need to know because, he had been, when he came back, he was playing a good 25 minutes a game, pretty much splitting it with Herter, and taking a few minutes from away also from like Lou Williams. Tony Snell even got in this last game for 4 minutes, but I think Hunter absorbs a lot of that if he's able to play. Also, if he does play, is he playable? Possibly, because he's cheap. But what it would do is if he does play, it would eliminate for me guys like Herter and Williams, because I just don't think there's enough minutes then between Bogdanovich, Trae Young, and Hunter on that backcourt small forward spot. So. And you got to get Gallo in there a little bit. So it's gonna watch that news closely, and really not sure on Hunter. Like I say, I'm not going to make the lineup with that either Hunter or Herter or whatever I end up doing there until I get that news for sure. But I am going to plan as Embiid is in. I mean, I just unless he really can't put weight on the thing, I think he's going to play. All right, let's talk about this game one, break it down a little bit. Game two. In game one, we had a interesting spot there with Hunter out. It wasn't Herter that went back in. It was Solomon Hill that got the start. He did play 25 minutes, 6 points, 3 rebounds. He does get spot starts. He does get some minutes. And even at his low price, he rarely gets to that 5X number, which he's not going to be in play for me. Two guys I want to talk about, they both played 32, 33 minutes, and that's John Collins and Clint Capella. They both got up 9 shots is all. And, that's a little bit of a red flag. Capella did get 10 rebounds, didn't break the slate by any stretch to pay off his salary. And Collins with just 4 rebounds and 2 assists. So both guys are pretty expensive, especially Capella. And if Embiid's going to play, then it makes it a lot tougher for both of those guys. When I did this podcast the other day for game one, I was expecting Embiid to sit. I really was. And I thought that would play into the hands of Capella big time, and then also Collins, because he moves into that center spot sometimes if a Kongu doesn't come in. And I thought that would be a upside plus with Embiid out, but that did not work that well. So I don't think I'm going to go back to that well for either one of those guys with the price that they are. A couple of other guys, though, that are in play is, again, Bogdanovich. I know his price is high, but, he got 17 shots up, and Trae got up 23. So when you're looking at, your backcourt getting up 40 shots, I mean, that's pretty stout. But even better than that, they made 18 of 40. So they almost shot 50%. And, that's with 23 of those shots being threes. So whatever the game plan was for Philly, everybody thought, okay, these great perimeter defenders. Like me, I thought Simmons, you got Danny Green, you have Thibault, you got all these guys that should be able to, maybe not lock down, but at least slow down the perimeter game of a team. And I was shocked that Bogdanovich and Young got up that many shots, shot it that well, and were able to really dominate that game. So the big question is do you go back there, um, or does Philly turn it up and defend better on the perimeter? I've got to think Doc's adjustment here is double out on the threes, don't go under screens. If you switch, make, jump double it, then get back to your man, the whole help and recover thing, because you can't let Bogdanovich and Young get looks at the basket. And, as we know with Young, that could be 35 feet away. I mean, he shoots the Dame shots out there. So I think there's an adjustment on who guards who. I was really disappointed. I faded Trae Young the first go around because I thought they'd put Simmons on him, but they didn't. They put Danny Green on him, and he just scorched him for 25 in the first quarter. And then they tried some other people on him and slowed him down a little bit. So, 10 points for the second, third, and fourth quarter combined for Trae Young was what I was expecting more of. And I don't believe I'm going to go there. I know it's, again, and I said it in the last podcast, I remember very well going over his stats from the last game in the first series. And, I said, I know people are out there saying, Coach, are you crazy fading Trae Young? And it did backfire for sure. And it did not work. You needed Trae Young. But I don't know, the salary he is and some of these other big names on the slate, I think I would rather go Bogdanovich and, rather and save the money that it would be for Trae Young. Plus, there are times where Trae gets a little turnover happy. And, if Doc Rivers comes out and it's Danny Green on him and no help and no doubles, then I'm screwed. But I can't imagine he's going to let him, beat Philly, especially in this important of a game. I mean, make somebody else step up and beat you. When you have Trae Young, one of the best shooters in the league, and you're not running a double at him, or, I would much rather make Solomon Hill beat me with a long jumper. We know Clint Capella can't shoot outside 4 feet. So, you can run his man at him to double and then go over and help in the paint. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do here that would make perfect sense. The only time it becomes a little bit more difficult is when they bring Gallinari in and, some of those knockdown shooters and spread the floor. Then it gets tougher. And I think in those times, I'm sure Trae will do decent. But for the salary, I'm just not 100% convinced that there won't be some regression. I think that first quarter was just a disaster for Philly, and I think that they settled that down this go-around. Maybe not 23 shots for Young. I think more in the 17 range, 16. So you get 5 or 6 less shots up at his price. He's not going to dominate the boards. He is passing the ball better. I will give him that. But for me, I'll give a slight look at Capella, but probably not. Bogdanovich definitely in play. And if Hunter doesn't start or play, then Herter becomes in play for me. With Hunter out last game, he played 28 minutes. He only took 9 shots, but he made 6 of them, and 3 of them were threes. And he gets rebounds and assists. He's a tall guard. So I'm hoping, as much as I love Hunter as a player, and I think he's probably a big key in winning this game against Philly, I hope he sits because I'd like to dial up Herter in that situation. Nobody else really gets enough minutes for me to consider. I'm not going to go to Gallo again. I know he's super cheap and he can knock down threes, but he really doesn't do anything else, even though he's a big guy. He just doesn't contribute other than scoring. So a couple of guys here to consider. but certainly not going to open up the vault in this game. Now, on the Philly side, I'm an Embiid truther, man. I stick with Embiid. He's won me a lot of money this year. And, being, like I said, if he took 21 shots the last game and played well and played big minutes, it didn't look like he re-injured it in any way. So I'm sure they're giving him tons of treatments and I'll have it, ready to go. So as long as there's no setbacks during the game, Embiid's going to be my center. So there's my lock and load play. I just feel like you got to have him in your optimal lineup. I know he's expensive, but from points, rebounds, blocks, he draws fouls so well and such a great foul shooter. They really have to win this game. It's in front of the home crowd. So mark me down. Joel, you're the man. I'm counting on you. I'm trusting the process, my friend. So that's where I'm going to go first of all. After that, there are some considerations here that I'm looking at. Again, being such an important game, you can spend up here for Ben Simmons or Tobias Harris as a second buy-up guy. I don't think you can realistically roster all three of them, but I'm right now the jury's out for me on the Harris Simmons split. I would like two guys from Philly that are strong, so I very well could choose one or the other. They both played fine the last game. Simmons was 7 for 7 with 10 assists, 4 rebounds. Now, he's not going to shoot 100% for sure, but his percentages will always be good. The concern is the foul shots. 3 for 10 in this game again. So do they do the hack of Simmons? I mean, they very well may. I mean, he has got a complete mental block there. And you can look at that two ways. I mean, is the fact he's shooting so poorly there a reason not to roster him? I sort of feel the opposite. I know it's a strange stance, but when you're going to give a guy, all those free shots at the free throw line, if he gets 20 of them instead of 10 and he shoots 50%, which you would sure think he would, there's 10 extra points for a guy that's not a huge scorer. And then you add that to what you're going to expect, which are double digits assists, close to double digit rebounds, and tons of stocks. So, Simmons very much in play for me. I do hope if I play him that they do the hack of Simmons. That would be wonderful. If I don't want to go that route, the other direction, then obviously Tobias Harris. I had him last time, solid game, 20 points, 10 rebounds. He only took 13 shots. That was a little surprising to me. I thought that, he'd get some more shots up, but some of those went to Curry, who went 7 for 12. So he's a guy that's streaky. If he's getting hot right now, which, he seems to be, he had 5 threes in that game. He not only becomes in play for me, but they're totally different positions, but it lessens the likelihood of me taking Harris because Simmons is going to get his in transition and when he posts up. But Harris and Curry are going to compete for those mid-range and three-point shots. So that's, the direction I'm leaning now in this game is Embiid as a lock, probably Simmons and maybe Curry. Or if I don't go that route, I would go Embiid and Harris because of that shot amounts that they're taking. And again, I'm going to make that final decision based on, really digging in here. Go to basketballreference.com, try to find as many combinations of minutes on and off the floor of these groups and see, what that situation is with usage and shots. I know it's small sample size and, this is a different situation in a playoff game, but, every bit of piece of information adds to it and I think can help make that final decision. So definitely join us in Discord today. Jump in with Coach Talk. You can get a 3-day membership for $10. That's it. And you're in there and you get everything we've got. We don't go just sport by sport. If you're part of the family at Coach Talk, you get everything: content, podcasts, selections. We do a coaches core group for cash and GPP on DraftKings. We give you full lineups on FanDuel and Yahoo, and we've been pretty on fire at Yahoo. So you get all of that 20 to 30 minutes before lock. Plus, we have a baseball extravaganza slate tonight. If you jump in today, of 15 games. So that's going to be a blast. And we got our two super baseball studs, Josh Crash Davis and Tyler Pitzer, providing for baseball. And then if you get the 3-day membership, you get into tomorrow, which is our PGA podcast and PGA picks for the tournament on Thursday. So it's a great deal. If you're more serious, you want to really dive in, or you're a member that wants to upgrade, we do still offer the special NBA playoff package, which is 2 months for $111, which is a big discount off our regular rate. And you get all our sports, not just the NBA playoffs. Just jump in. You can sign up on our website, dfscoachtalk.com. All those packages are there. If you have any questions, shoot us a tweet on Twitter. We're at DFS Coach Talk. If you want to come to me directly, I'm at JOESARVADI, and Andrew is at Language Olympic. All right. We go on to game 2, and it's very bittersweet for me because this should be the Dallas Mavericks at the Utah Jazz. I could just be sick, but it is what it is, and we move on. So let's focus on this. LA Clippers, they just played the Mavericks in a game 7. They were elimination game in game 6, elimination game in game 7. Their starters played massive minutes. They come out alive, and now that was the day before yesterday. Now they got to go to Utah that has some elevation and a little bit tougher there, not quite like Denver, but close. And now they got to try to freshen up. They still don't get Ibaka. He's still out. And they have to take on a Utah Jazz team that has had 6 days rest. So, we did see at times teams when they have big rest times like that, they're a little rusty and have to get it going. But I think it helps Utah more than most teams because they're a veteran team. Gobert's been in the league. Mitchell sure needed that rest after he had come back in this last series from injury. Guys like Ingles and O'Neal, they're no young guys. Rested legs, I think, is more important than anything here for Utah. So I think that gives them a big edge coming in. They're favored by 4, and it's a 220.5 over under. The big question mark in this game, and it affects my entire build, so we are going to have this situation to really wait for and decide on, and that's Conley. Mike Conley is listed as questionable, which is disappointing because you would think with almost a week off, he would have been able to get healthy enough to just, be a go. So we need that news. It's a domino effect kind of news. Conley's a good defender at the point. I think they lose a lot when they have to start Ingles and then bring Clarkson off the bench, as opposed to having Conley at that spot defensively. So that affects some of what the selections would be with the Clippers. And then offensively, the same thing. You've got a different distribution of the assists and shots for that rotation. But I really don't know. I think it's 50-50 on the fence here, and we just have to wait and see. If he's in and he doesn't have restrictions, I think he's playable. If he's out, I actually, that would elevate Mitchell for me because he plays a lot of the pseudo point, even though Ingles and Clarkson also share that role. I think Mitchell, it would really be a jump up for him. So if Conley's out, Mitchell's in. If Conley's playing, I probably won't pay all the way up for Mitchell, although I think he's a terrific play. And I would like to roster him. I'm just trying to balance the salary like we always are. Let's jump to the Clippers real quick. So we know Kawhi shot over 60% against the Mavs and just, was absolutely dominant. Again, is he going to be fresh? We will see. Utah's defense is solid. They put a lot of pressure. They try to slow down pace. So it's going to be a challenge for Kawhi. I think, with O'Neal and a bunch of different guys that Utah has, I think they can slow Kawhi down a little bit better than the Mavericks did. So I do, think Kawhi is a great play always. Going after Embiid and some of these other guys, I'm on the fence with Kawhi. If Mitchell's going to make my lineup, I probably won't have Kawhi make it. I think he's going to be wildly high owned because of this series he just had. But if Conley does play and I bump Mitchell, then I would go to Kawhi. But statistically, I think he's going to do great. But also remember, Utah is slower than Dallas. Utah's a better defensive team than Dallas, and you got to expect a little bit of regression from Kawhi here, especially since he has Paul George as his running mate, and he's got a hot Reggie Jackson who's shooting it well. He's got a crafty veteran in Morris Sr. and Batum, both crafty veterans, and Rondo. Those are all elements that he has to really help him. And I think, I know they're not a popular pick right now, but I think the Clippers have a chance to win this series against Utah if they're fresh enough. Even if they drop this first game, I think then, they get a little bit more rest. I think they're going to be a tough team. This is going to be a really good series, in my opinion. A lot of people think Utah's going to, blow by them because Clippers had to expend so much in this first round. But, Leonard, certainly your first look there. If you have to go secondary, which we have to find some of these value and secondary price guys, Morris Sr., he always comes through for me, man. He was 8 for 15 in this last game and 23 points, and really helped my squad, although it was painful as a Mavs fan, but it did help the squad. Batum, you got to, look at these 41 minutes and think, no, it's 100% fade for me. They adjusted their lineup and played Batum in the starting lineup and bench Zubac strictly because of defending Luka. The strategy is going to be completely different in this game. You're not going to play their big off the floor because Gobert's in there. So one guy I like here and is going to be my second center to Embiid on DraftKings and Yahoo, and that's Zubac. I think Zubac, who played 2 minutes and 36 seconds the last game, is going to be low owned. People are going to feel like, he's not going to be play a role here. And we'll see as the day goes on. I predict that he starts. I predict that he gets 27 minutes. And I think he has an impact as a super value cheap play. So he's my favorite sneaky value play on this card. And I think he has the potential to go 7-8x. I really do. Even though Gobert's a great defender, etc., but just the fact that he's not going to get played off the floor and he's going to have a lot of opportunity there, I think is important. And they can't afford to go small. What are they going to play, Batum or Morris against, the Stifle Tower? It's just not going to work. So you're going to see a lot more Zubac in there. And I think he'll be a great play. Paul George, as far as a pay up, he's very expensive as well. Depending on how the cards fall, again, with a couple of these other plays, if Kawhi doesn't make it and there's that whole Conley to Mitchell shift, then Pat Bev's the next man up for me. So he is in contention to make my lineup. Not, the first build unless those dominoes fall, but, he's a strong player. His percentages have been down, for the most part. Again, this last game, he had decent DFS totals, but 5 for 15 from the field again, only 2 for 8 from 3. Not the first spot I'm going to go. Not completely eliminating him, but he's not in my build right now. After that, you start gambling a little bit. Terrence Mann was sort of the the flavor of the month in this last series. He got up to 26 minutes in the last game. A little risky to see what his minutes are going to be. Rondo, excuse me, Rondo only played 9, which was, I thought, very interesting. So I've got a feeling the man Rondo minutes may split a little bit. And now you have the wild card of Kennard getting some minutes that may shuffle the deck a little bit with guys like Batum, and some of the other guys off the bench, because he did get 15 minutes and was 3 for 5 from 3. So I'm not going to play him, but he does put a little bit of a wrench in the plans of wanting to see some of these other guys get big minutes. After that, I don't think there's anybody playable whatsoever. So, good look here, want some exposure, but certainly we need all of that news. So to complete the look on the Utah Jazz for this game, we sort of talked about, the fact that a lot of it's going to have to do with Conley. Certainly if favoring Mitchell and then determining where to go from there. I don't want to pay all the way up for Gobert. His minutes were decent this last game, 33. He did have 15 rebounds, but I just think price-wise, because of some of that off the ceiling with his offense, I don't quite want to go there. You will get a bunch of minutes and a cheaper price out of Royce O'Neal. They're going to need him desperately to guard Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. So 35 to 40 minutes is in play for him. If he can do what he did the last game, that's a smash guy. He had 17 points, which is a huge bonus, and his regular blocks, assists, steals, all that kind of stuff. So in play for me. After that, I'm not going bench-wise unless if Conley sits, then you got to consider Joe Ingles. His price is down, and he's probably going to get 30 minutes. But he is not playing well. He was 0 for 5 the last game in 28 minutes and only 4 rebounds. So, for anybody that did roster him, you got stung pretty good there. And it is a hard pill to swallow if you go back to him here. But I think he's in consideration if Conley sits. If not, then no. And after that, not really liking anybody off the bench for this team. I just think, the guy you got to bring up always is Jordan Clarkson. Problem with Clarkson, though, is especially if Conley plays, is you just don't know how many shots he's going to get up. Now, this last game, you rostered him. It was great. But, you had Conley only play 11 minutes. So that was the big reason. But Clarkson got 30 minutes and took 20 shots. So, there is the path, if Conley's out, for him to do the same exact thing. I mean, he can score. But if Conley plays and those minutes go down, he did have a few games in this last series where he only played 15, 16 minutes, and he's scoring dependent. And, he's going to get some assists, but that's it. And so risky. I think people may jump to him as a secondary choice. I'm not going to go there here, again, unless 100% rule out by Conley. So hopefully that gives you a good look at these 4 teams in these 2 games. I think you can get a good, concrete, solid build of 4 or 5 guys, and then wait on the news as things rolls out this afternoon. So appreciate you spending this time with me. I certainly hope it helps. Let us know when you have some big winners or big takedowns. You can, we're right on YouTube. If you're watching this there, throw a comment in there, let us know, or tweet us at DFS Coach Talk. We'd love to hear how our listeners are doing. And if you're a listener that's not a member, come on and jump in. 3-day pass, $10, dfscoachtalk.com. All right. Thank you so much for listening in, and have a wonderful Tuesday. It was an odd Tuesday without Andrew, but we will both be back for a double podcast tomorrow. We've got the Wednesday podcast of the NBA, and we have a PGA podcast. So join us then as well. And the best way to know when those podcasts post is by hitting the thumbs up, subscribe button, and the alert right here on YouTube. All right. Have a great Tuesday. We're calling it Takedown Tuesday at Coach Talk, and we're planning on doing it. So have a good one, and we will see you again tomorrow when we look to crush it in DFS.